Welcome into the Everyday Grind. Today, let me share with you everything we know about patch 10.1, the Embers of Neltharion. Let's get into it. Lots to talk about this week as we have learned the patch 10.1 called Embers of Neltharion has begun on the PTR, and I've got you covered with all the news. Let's take a look at one of the new mounts you'll be able to earn. During the Dragonflight beta, a 5th dragon riding mount was data mined, but it never made it to live previously. All we knew about it, besides data mining, was the name, the Winding Slither Drake. The Winding Slither Drake is finally making its debut in patch 10.1 Embers of Neltharion. Here are your rating full tier sets. These look really good. Starting on the upper left, you have the DK, Priest, and Paladin. Next up is the Druid, Warrior, and Shaman. Starting on the bottom left, you have the Hunter, the Monk, the Demon Hunter, and the Evoker. And finally, the Mage, the Rogue, and the Warlock. But that's not all. There's also world sets. Let's take a look at what those look like. Here are your outdoor world sets for weapons, armor, even mounts. They're all themed for the Black Dragonflight. They have the look and feel of something that might come from Blackwing Lair. Different color variants will be available through different activities, so players can collect all of them if they choose. Let's take a look at the new race called Zaralek Cavern, the new raid called Aberrus the Shadowed Crucible, and the new race, the Mole Folk. Gather your courage as you venture into this mysterious underground cavern where you will explore, undertake new quests, meet intriguing new denizens such as the Mole People, and experience new dragon riding updates. Players will also encounter new rares and elite creatures and claim new treasures. The Mole Folk are a new race that live in Zaralek Cavern. This is the entrance to Aberrus, the Shadowed Crucible, located in the very back of Zaralek Cavern. This raid features 9 bosses, of course, epic loot, and a new type of mechanic from Neltharion. For most players, this was in the classic game called Class Calls. Class Calls are debuffs that will happen in the second phase of the fight, forcing one class in the raid to succumb to corruption. Blizzard says the chosen class will have their spells corrupted, allowing them to see ads, called voices from beyond. However, as their spells are corrupted, each class will have a different effect when called upon, causing them to negatively affect your allies. Use the corruption to help kill the ads, but avoid killing your teammates with it. With the start of a new raiding season, that also means a new Mythic Plus season. Here's the Season 2 lineup for Mythic Plus. Dragonflight Season 2 adds the remaining Dragonflight dungeons along with additional dungeons from previous expansions to the Mythic Plus rotation, including Brackenhide Hollow, Halls of Infusion, Uldaman, Legacy of Tyr, Neltharius, Freehold, Battle for Azeroth, the Underrot, Battle for Azeroth, Vortex Pinnacle, which is in Cataclysm, and Neltharion's Lair, which was in Legion. New seasonal affixes are in development and will be available for testing later as a part of the PTR cycle. But we have a side note about seasonal affixes. Huge news for players regarding the seasonal affixes in Mythic Plus. Love them or hate them, there's been a ton of feedback from players on both sides of the topic. But game director Morgan Day has spilled the beans on what the plans are for Mythic Plus Season 2 affixes. Let's take a look at what he said. This is quite the groundbreaking statement. Morgan Day says, in terms of the philosophy of affixes in particular for Season 2, we've definitely taken a big step back there and are looking at it holistically. One major change we're making is we're actually just not going to have a level 10. That is to say, the seasonal affix like Thundering. There won't be a replacement for Thundering, and Thundering is being retired. In the same interview, Morgan Day talks about a new loot upgrade currency, which will be coming in patch 10.1. Let's take a look at what he said. So we're looking at introducing new currencies called Flight Stones, and then Shadowflame Crests, which is a currency that acts as your high watermark that will allow you to upgrade certain items to be even higher tiers. That's a pretty exciting update that people will see. I don't know if it will be in the very first PTR build, but it will be pretty early because we've recognized that that's a big change and want to get that into players' hands as early as possible to get as much feedback as we can to allow time for iteration. The day has arrived. Cross-faction guilds will be in patch 10.1. I, for one, cannot wait for that day. So far, there are a few problems, such as to get mail, the target is friendly, so you can't send mail, or you're unable to trade cross-faction to guildies. But as these are getting worked out, here's Blizzard's plan for cross-faction guilds. Blizzard says, while cross-faction grouping enabled players to be the faction they wanted and still play with their friends, many had to create alternate faction guilds, fracturing their guild communities since guilds are single faction. Blizzard looks to be rectifying this situation by enabling cross-faction guilds, allowing players of both factions in a single guild. Currently, the details are sparse. As I've talked about, it's being worked on the PTR, and we don't know all of the limitations of the new system, but don't forget to jump onto the PTR, try the cross-faction guild system. Let's iron out the bugs. Let's make this a great transition. Embers of Neltharion features Fyrakk, a fire dragon who, much like Deathwing, will wreak havoc throughout the Dragon Isles. Here are the 4 keys you need to know to complete this objective. Here are the first 2. Once you approach the area assaulted by Fyrakk, the atmosphere will change dramatically, as you can see in the picture below, with the skies turning fiery orange and the area surrounded by primalist forces. It is a striking change, especially when compared to more cool-colored areas like the snowy plains of the Azure Span. The Fyrakk assault stays in the area for the entire day, even after the main goons are defeated, to ensure people have plenty of time to join in quests and complete the quests. Keys 3 and 4, every now and then, criteria or time to be determined, you might notice a progression bar appearing on top of the screen. This indicates a direct Fyrakk strike is coming. This bar is increased by slaying elite proto-drakes and elite mobs in the assault area, and when the bar is full, Fyrakk starts ravaging the zone, much like Deathwing did back in Cataclysm. Fyrakk slowly flies through the zone and eventually hits the assault area. Getting caught in Fyrakk's blazing aura and dying to it grants the achievement Still Standing in the Fire. I can't wait to get that achievement. And speaking of Fyrakk, here is the Fyrakk appearance for your dragon riding mounts. These are super cool. On the left is the original Fyrakk appearance. On the right is another Fyrakk appearance that you can get in the game. Don't forget that patch 10.0.7 comes out on March 21st, March 22nd in EU. Blizzard has not forgotten about it. Let's check out what's confirmed to be released. If you haven't completed quests in the Azure Span to open up the new Winterpelt Furbolg faction, here's what you need to know. The Winterpelt Furbolg speak a language no one seems to understand. Learn to understand and eventually speak their language as you help Sonova Snowden crack their peculiar dialect and earn their trust. Make sure that you have already started the Academic Assistance quest by accepting it in the Adventure Guide. This quest will become available after completing the Winterpelt Hollow and Rustpine Den quest chains in the Azure Span. Meaning, if you haven't done these yet, you still have time to get into the Azure Span, find them, complete them, so that you're ready for when patch 10.0.7 drops. Did you know the Monk class is now open to new races? The Monk class will be available to the Goblin, Lightforged Draenei, and Worgen races. All of the new things in patch 10.0.7 begin with Bane, who gives you new quests and new insights to what's coming next. Travel with Bane into the Onoran Plains in search of an old friend who's gone missing. There are tales to be told and a long-buried past to discover as you travel with him. That's it for me, everyone. Don't forget to catch my live streams 5 days a week on Twitch if you want to talk about the upcoming changes in Dragonflight. And please like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell on this YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.